Hey everybody, welcome into the Thinking Crypto podcast, your home for cryptocurrency news and interviews. I'm your host, Tony Edward. On your way in, please hit that subscribe button as well as a thumbs up button and leave a comment below. If you're listening on a podcast platform such as Spotify or Apple, please leave a 5-star rating and review. Folks, lots happening on the charts and price action today. Bitcoin currently trading at over $115,000. So we saw a big move today. And this was important because it's showing the bulls are grabbing the momentum. And if we look at the Bitcoin daily chart, we see the MACD has flipped bullish. This is what we discussed in yesterday's episode. And now we have two solid green bars on that MACD. So bulls are in control right now. The RSI in the daily shows there's still room for the price to run up before we hit the overbought zone. So we got some more upside here. But the important part was the weekly close. The weekly close that we got today was very good. It was over $113,400. This was something many different traders and analysts were highlighting, that Bitcoin needed a weekly close above this price point to close above the 20-week SMA. So very good sign. Now, I'm not here cheerleading that, oh man, we're going to pump to 150,000 next week. No. We got work to do here. Bitcoin has work to do. We need more confirmation because the market can certainly fake us out. But I'm going to share some other factors that are very good. We've been seeing that the S&P 500 has been hitting new all-time highs. So this is very good. The MACD on the daily for the S&P 500 also flipping bullish. And as we've been discussing over the past few weeks, gold has topped out here. Now, whether that's a local or a blow-off top, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But nevertheless, rotational liquidity is happening. Notice that when gold topped out, the S&P 500 hit a new all-time high, and now Bitcoin's running. Again, do you see the thesis, right? We're just looking at data here, and a lot of people still don't grasp that we are in a macro bull market for all assets. They're very tunnel vision focus, hyper focus on crypto. And I get it. That's where your money is, but you have to understand the bigger picture of what's moving these markets. And that's the debasement of currency, the liquidity, global liquidity going up because central banks are printing. So you have inflation with the prices of goods, but also the inflation of the prices of assets. But they don't all move at the same time. Each has its day in the sun, so to speak, right? So gold has been ripping. We know real estate is at all-time highs as well, crypto stocks and much more. So we're in the everything bubble, if you want to call it that. But crypto, as Paul Trudeau said, is the fastest horse in the race. So once again, you have that correlation between gold and crypto. I wrote about this in my newsletter and much more. Guys, all the data is there. Go sign up for my free email newsletter. Link will be in the description. So again, we're seeing that rotation. That's very good. And, individual stock indexes, in addition to the S&P 500, are breaking out, such as the Russell. So that's very good. And in fact, Ethereum's chart has an identical structure to the Russell right now. So we need to see Ethereum break out and enter price discovery. And I believe the rest of the altcoin market will follow. So we often track total 3, which excludes Bitcoin, Ethereum, and stablecoins. And we see that has been on the rise, but obviously pulled back due to the corrections we've seen over the past month or so. So Bitcoin leads the market, and then you have rotation from Bitcoin down to ETH and then to the rest of the altcoin markets. I don't make the rules. That's just the data. Those are the facts. So whether you like Bitcoin, ETH, or whatever, that doesn't matter. What matters is the reality of the situation and what's taking place here. So again, folks, I've been talking about this for years, right? We've been talking a lot about it despite floodsters, people getting emotional, just the data, right? And a lot of these things I shared at the beginning of the year with the tariff crash then. The other factor that we've been highlighting is Bitcoin dominance. That has not collapsed like we've seen at the previous tops of the prior bull markets. So we're waiting for that waterfall collapse down, and it hasn't happened. We've had periodic pull drops, where we had rallies like in Q1 and Q2 of 2024, then Q4 of 2024, obviously over the summer, July into August, where Bitcoin hit a new all-time high, but we have not had that massive collapse. So that is still on deck. And that's one of the factors we're going to look at when we're saying, hey, the top is near, right? Because if that starts breaking down significantly, we're going to have to take action accordingly. Same thing with USDT dominance. Now, something big that is happening today, we're seeing a lot of progress with the US China tariff situation. A bunch of factors I've been outlining on this podcast as well as in my newsletter is that there are some macro factors that are aligning here as huge narratives to go with the market, the bull market continuing to blow off top. And that is one, US China tariff resolution. So it seems like we're getting that. I'll give you the details after this. Number two, US government reopens. Number three, Fed continues to cut rates. And in fact, the Fed funds futures markets here on CME shows that there's about a 97, 98% percentage that the Fed is going to cut this week. We're going to hear on October 29th, of course. And then just recently, we got a signal from Jerome Powell that the Fed is going to ramp down quantitative tightening, and we know quantitative easing is following. That number four, Clarity Act, the crypto market structure bill passing the Senate. And number five, the SEC approves the individual altcoin ETFs for XRP, Solana, and much more. So, folks, all of these things are on the horizon here. So this is why I am not bearish, not yet at least, right? I haven't seen the true euphoria parabolic move. No bull market ends in fear. And this is where, people are not, just simply forgetting. They're just caught up in the emotions of what's happening now versus let me step back and look at the grand picture, the macro. And I've been preaching macro for a long time, and I hope I'm getting through to some of you guys to start looking at the market differently. So Scott Bessent, U.S. Treasury Secretary, said they have a substantial trade framework with China, and it has been reached. So we got positive statements from both China and the U.S. today. Trump is going to meet with President Xi this week. So Scott Bessent said, President Trump gave me a great deal of negotiating leverage with the threat of 100% tariffs on November 1st. And I believe we have reached a substantial framework that will avoid that and allow us to discuss many other things with the Chinese. So I think this is coming to a resolution. Is it signed, sealed, delivered yet? Of course not, right? This is why I said I'm not celebrating yet. I want to see a lot of these things resolve, and I want to see Bitcoin blast through the old all-time high of $126,000, $127,000. Then I'm going to start partying a bit, right? If you get what I'm saying. Right now, we are digging our way out of this hole, and we have to build support levels, and there's going to be volatility. So please understand, I'm not saying call home and tell everybody that we're pumping to the moon next week. No, that's not what this update is about. It's to let you know we're seeing positive signs. We're moving up slowly but surely, and we have some big macro factors on the horizon, but things are starting to look very good, folks. So patience is the key, my friends. Patience, patience, patience. Here's what Tom Lee, who's had some great calls, this bull market cycle, had to say regarding the news about the U.S. and China. He says positive development with U.S. and China trade relations. He says up for equities. This includes the S&P 500, QQQ, and much more. He says up for a super cycle, Ethereum, up for Bitcoin. So he is bullish. And, yesterday we reported that he expects the year to end in a big rally for stocks and crypto. Now, whether that's a blow-off top or a local top, we'll have to keep monitoring the metrics and the data, like Bitcoin dominance, like the Bitcoin Pi cycle top indicator, like what Bitcoin whales are doing based on on-chain data. Are they dumping? Or is that line on the chart going down in a big downtrend, right? We're going to look at USDT dominance. How far down have we broken? So these items, in addition to others, is what we're going to use to validate what the hell is happening and, how should we execute as far as profit taking. So folks, again, great signs. Bulls are capturing the momentum. We need to capture the weekly for Bitcoin, but daily's in control of the bulls. The monthly's in control of the bulls. So I like what I'm seeing here. Let's see what this week brings us. Now, folks, a great place where you can buy, sell, and stake your crypto assets is on Uphold. Uphold is a great platform I've been using since 2018. They have 300 plus cryptocurrencies, and they also offer staking on 20 plus crypto assets. And best of all, folks, they are fully reserved. They don't commingle or lend out your crypto assets. I personally never had an issue with them. They're reliable, and you can review their transparency report on their website. So they have a lot of transparency and openness there where you can see what they're doing. In addition, they have a great rewards program called Uphold Rewards where you can earn up to 5.25% on stablecoins. You can also get 24-hour early access to new tokens that they list. And the stablecoins they support includes Ripple's RLUSD. You can earn up to 5% there, and USBC. You can earn up to 5.25% there. And in order to participate, you simply have to open the app once per month, deposit $50 once per month, and trade $50 once per month. So very simple. And they have a ton more other features, guys, that you can check out. So once again, I'm a user of this platform, have been for years. So if you'd like to learn more about Uphold, check out the link in the description. Now, folks, we have some very big news around XRP and Ripple. So XRP Ledger Validator sees NFT to NFT trading potential in proposed batch amendment. So this is interesting. The proposed batch amendment for the XRP Ledger introduces atomic transaction capabilities. This amendment is particularly beneficial for NFT trades, enabling seamless NFT to NFT swaps in a single transaction to ensure security and atomicity. I've never heard of that. According to a validator, the batch amendment has reached 68.57% consensus among validators, with 80% required for activation. So we continue to see developments on the XRP ledger, and in addition to other blockchains, right? Everybody's fine-tuning, adding new features. So this is really great. Atomic transaction capabilities. And that's a great feature that only blockchains enabled, to have that atomic settlement. And I think it's going to be the game changer for how TradFi and the economies and much more transact with each other moving forward. I've often stated the markets, the economies, and the governments will all be running on blockchain rails. So you need atomic settlement. So this is really great. Moving ahead, we got some updates around Solana. Here, Solana's Marinade Labs CEO eyes lower barrier to entry for validators after the Alpenglow upgrade. So similar to the XRP Ledger, we're seeing some updates here for Solana. So Solana's upcoming Alpenglow upgrade could mark a turning point for the network staking economy. CoinDesk sat down with Michael Repetini, CEO of Marinade Labs, the firm that supports Solana's liquid staking protocol Marinade, to discuss how the update aims to change the economics of running a validator on Solana, significantly lowering the barrier to entry. As the Solana ecosystem prepares for an upgrade at the end of this year or in early 2026, Repetni shares his thoughts on how this shift could expand validator participation and improve decentralization, even as higher hardware demands loom. So this is really great, guys. Again, we're seeing progress around the major chains. So both XRP, the XRP Ledger, and Solana are both top 5 assets, right? In the top 10. So this is what you want to see: continued innovation and expansion and much more. Now, final news item here. Coinbase wants to bring the entire startup lifecycle on chain, CEO Brian Armstrong says. So Coinbase continues to make a lot of progress. Yesterday, we talked about their potential new token on Base, similar to the Binance BNB token, right? And I mentioned, that is something I may want to invest in, given the size of Coinbase, its brand being the largest crypto exchange in the United States. And look, you just look at the performance of BNB, and I wish I bought that, a while back, but I think we have that opportunity here with Coinbase. So Coinbase CEO Brian Armstrong has outlined an ambitious plan to move every stage of a startup's journey from incorporation to fundraising and public trading onto the blockchain. This would be huge, guys, and I definitely see this all going on the blockchains. So speaking on the TBPN podcast, Armstrong described his vision for an on-chain lifecycle where founders could incorporate their startups, raise seed rounds, receive instant capital in USDC, and eventually go public around the tokenized equity. Here's a quote: "You can imagine this whole life cycle coming on chain," he said, adding that such a shift could increase the number of companies who go raise capital and get started out there in the world. So Armstrong said startups will no longer need banks or lawyers to handle global transfers, as funding can be raised instantly through on-chain smart contracts. Once capital arrives, founders can start generating revenue, accepting crypto payments, access financing, and even take their companies public directly on-chain. What he's saying here is the future. Larry Fink and BlackRock and Wall Street already gave you the signal. The future of finance is on chain. It's tokenization, right? So imagine being a founder and you have an idea and you want to build a company. You can do that on chain and open to a global market with people who can participate, and there's no longer the you have to be a hedge fund or an accredited investor. You can be some random dude in Latin America or some country in Africa or in India, wherever, somewhere in Europe, and you can participate. You can back that founder because you like their idea, right? And you would get a share in this form of a token. And and you as the entrepreneur, the builder of the company, you can do so much more, raise capital, get more people to participate. So many new opportunities here with this technology, and it's just game changing. So the world's going to change, folks. So this is why I keep saying this almost every podcast episode. I'm not just bullish on this cycle, but the future cycles as well. And that's why when the bear market rolls around, I'm going to be backing up the truck, buying as much as possible, sitting back and being patient, right? And waiting for the next bull market and sell the tops again. And that's what I'm doing right now. In full transparency, my portfolio is up, guys. I'm not, if I had to sell right now, I would be in some very good profits, right? But I know based on the data, there's a bit more upside. So I want to grab a bit more of that. Now, obviously, no one can call the exact top, so we want to ladder out. Yeah, and I'll be telling you guys where I'm taking profits at, of course. I've not taken any profits as yet, not on Bitcoin. My first price target I have in my sheet that I'm tracking all this is about 135, and I'll be laddering out as we go higher, 145, 150, yada yada, right? And the same thing for Ethereum, Solana, XRP as well. So I'll be letting you guys know when I see the signals flashing. Now, as always, I don't cult follow me. Listen to different point of views. I'm human. I may get things wrong, but I hope you appreciate that I'm pointing you to the facts and the data, and not only looking at charts, but looking at on-chain data and the macro. I think a lot of chart guys, they get blinded by simply the chart, and it's like, hey, there's other factors you have to look at here that are driving markets. So we want to look at the market holistically. We want to be as educated as possible. So I hope you guys appreciate that. All right, folks, that's the news. Let me know what you think. Leave your thoughts and comments below. Hit the thumbs up button. And if you appreciated this content, please subscribe to my free email newsletter. It is 100% free. Link will be in the description. Check out my book on Amazon. It's available in paperback and digital, and my course at mycryptocourse.com. This is a comprehensive course that teaches you everything about crypto. So folks, thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate you all, and I'll talk to you all later.